What's up, you guys? So today I'm actually going to teach a section from my book, The Anti-Marketing Manifesto, How to Sell Without Being a Sellout. If you haven't read this book, I would highly recommend it. It's just a great fucking book, especially if you hate selling in a way that makes you feel like a sellout, if you hate predatory marketing, if you don't want to be like the scammy, yucky people that do it their way and they'll do and say anything to make a sale because they have no conscience. They'll run people right over. They don't care how they treat people. They're just after the money. If you are that person, I don't want you to even read the Anti-Marketing Manifesto. Like go fuck off somewhere. Go do your predatory marketing thing. But if you're a person who genuinely wants to help people and you want to make profits, you can do both. And you have to do it using, well, you don't have to, you can do it using the Anti-Marketing Manifesto. So this is from chapter 12. Your only competition is your former self. So I know that in business, people want to talk about how competitive it is. Oh, business is so competitive. There's not room for everybody. You have to like fight and claw your way to the top. That's competition. That's an energy. That's a vibe. If that's what you want to do, this is not for you. If you want to come from a place of creating, like I can actually create the experiences that I want, I can create the business that I want, I don't have to compete with other people, then this chapter will help. And, I didn't make this up. People have been talking about this for hundreds of years. So your only competition is your former self. I start the chapter with a quote that says, man's only enemies are within himself, and a man's foes shall be they of his own household. That's from Florence Scovel Shinn. What does that mean? That means the only thing that can possibly fuck with you is literally within you, within your own household. So if you think about this, the only thing that can take you down is what's going on inside here, inside of you. Because if you look externally and you're looking out in the economy, the world, society, the government, if you're looking out there and you're saying, oh, they can take me down, that's actually incorrect. Man's only enemies are within himself. So obviously that was written in a time when the word man was used to apply. It was applied to, basically all humans. Women's only enemies are within herself. Woman's only enemies are within herself. Think about that. A woman's foes shall be they of her own household. That's just the quote. That's the opening quote of this chapter. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple paragraphs. So this is me actually writing, me telling my story. I didn't always think work was a good thing. For years, I had weird associations with it in my mind. I feared that working too much was bad and would turn a person into an abusive jerk. Because of these associations, I often avoided work, or I did the wrong kind of work that didn't matter to me, or which I did primarily to get a paycheck. Nothing brings more drudgery. Nothing wastes your life like doing the wrong kinds of work you don't love with all your heart, mind, and soul. Today, I have a different view of work. I've learned that the right kind of work is cleansing to the soul. So cleansing that it has the effect of scrubbing and erasing a ton, if not all, of the world's bullshit from your mind. At least while you're working, you feel refreshed, accomplished, and energized after doing the right kind of work. It brings great benefit to your customers too. Work that's draining to your soul and agonizing to your mind or body may not be the right work for you. The right work is work that you care about deeply. It speaks to your soul and allows you to sleep well at night. It lets you be at peace with yourself. You jump out of bed each morning eager to get started on it. The right work challenges you, makes you want to get better, and leads to favorable results. In business, you have to identify the right kind of work for you. Not doing this creates your own personal hell on earth. Determining your right work is a spiritual and personal decision for each individual. It may be a combination of what you're naturally great at, what you love doing, and or what your market is requesting, or it may have to do with what you're invited to do. So that's the opening section of chapter 12. Your only competition is your former self. So you may want to go back and listen to this a couple times and see what in that section jumped out at you. I mean, are you doing a job? Are you working on a job that you absolutely fucking despise? You can't stand your work. You know that you're wasting your life. You're like, I'm a smart individual, but I'm, working at Arby's or something. Are you just wasting your life away on something you don't even care about just to collect the paycheck? I was talking to a woman a while ago who works at a big pharma job, and she was telling me, like, I don't feel free. I'm pretty much at the mercy of the rules of this company that owns me. Like, they're the ones that pay my check. I have to do what they say. Muted myself there. She doesn't feel free. Like, she doesn't have that freedom. So what is it for you? Like, is your work giving you that sense of purpose, that reason why you're even alive on this earth? Because I think we all have a purpose. We all have a purpose, and part of that purpose is to make ourselves into the best version of ourselves possible. Now, here's the thing, that is different for everybody, but there are certain standards that we can typically say, okay, yeah, this person's living their best life. There are standards, and you don't have to follow the standards, but in general, they make everything better. So like the standard of health, if you really care about your health, then you have to be healthy. You have to follow that voice within your conscience. If you don't care about health, you have to ask yourself, like, why? Why don't I care about my health? Where did I pick up the idea that that's not something that is actually important? So you learned that from somewhere. You picked it up from somewhere. There are certain standards of like your character, like, who am I as a person? Am I the best version of myself that I can possibly be? Am I showing up? Am I keeping my word in small and large ways? Am I committed? Am I following through on my commitments? Am I doing what I said I was going to do in the manner that I said I was going to do it? Or do you flake out on those? Do you make excuses and rationalizations? So your only competition is your former self. I really love this principle because your former self is basically who you were in the past. Whether that's 5 seconds ago, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, 10 years ago, whatever it is, like, your former self is who you were in the past. What's interesting is the present is the only thing that really exists. Like, we have our history, we have our perception of history, our memory of history. We have the future, which is kind of just a vision at this point. It's like in our imagination, it hasn't happened yet. But the only thing that actually exists is the present. So if you're going to say, okay, my past is crappy, I did a lot of things that I regret, therefore I can't move forward. If you are genuinely saying that, then that's going to be true for you. If you say, okay, I made some mistakes in the past, I wasn't perfect, I didn't do everything that my conscience guided me to do, and I'm going to change that and I'm going to move forward, you can absolutely do that. So in that case, you would look at, what do I need to do going forward? What do I need to do every single day to create pretty much a perfect day that I love, that I'm stoked about? I'm talking about a genuinely perfect day where you feel so good about yourself. You feel good about the choices that you make. You feel good about the results that you generated that day. And you're like, wow, this is awesome. I'm going to do this every day. Why would I not do this every day? Then at that point, nothing can actually stop you. Your only competition is your former self. So in this chapter, I tell some stories of other businesses. Some are based on real people, some are based on composites of various people. But basically, it's about looking at yourself. It's about taking responsibility for yourself, what's going on inside of you, and saying, okay, clearly I'm creating this. I'm creating these results. I'm creating this lack of results, maybe. I'm creating these emotions. I'm creating these recurring problems. And it's up to me to choose a different set of circumstances because I am holding myself back. So once you make that decision and you're like, okay, I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to stop holding myself back. I'm going to stop bringing myself down. Once you decide to do that, everything can change. You can start seeing massive growth in the right direction instead of decay in the wrong direction. So with this chapter, your only competition is your former self. This chapter is really inviting you to cast your demons aside. You might call it vices. I have an acronym in this chapter that's pretty funny. FUPSOY. FUPSOY. Fucked up parts of yourself. Everybody has FUPSOY. Welcome to being human. That's characteristic of the ongoing flawed nature of humanity that only a higher power can save us from. That is not a reason not to move forward. That's no reason not to move forward. So saying, even though you have these like fucked up parts of yourself, even though you're not perfect, even though you have vices, even though you make mistakes, even though you have these negative patterns that you can't seem to break out of, that's not a reason to move forward anyway. So cast your demons aside. And by the way, everybody has personal demons. These are things that plague them. These are botched opportunities. We have to move past those or we'll never get anywhere. So that's it. That's the training. I would encourage you to read the whole chapter, read the whole book. It's a great book. Don't just take my word for it. Go read the reviews on Amazon. Don't read the reviews on Goodreads because those were written by people that didn't actually read the book, that had like a personal grudge against me for some reason. So read the reviews on Amazon. They're from people that actually read the book. All right, you guys have an amazing rest of your day.